liberty has always been high. This is a war of the people, by the people.
War on American soil isn't a foreign concept for first-person shooters, but few do it with the grim dedication of Homefront. Its chilling vision of life in occupied America is vividly illustrated through lengthy scenes that depict the brutality of military subjugation and the desperation of its victims. The campaign is short, but Homefront takes pains to get you emotionally involved, and this makes the solid action much more engaging than it otherwise would be. Online multiplayer doesn't have the same intrigue, and it feels kind of like a hodgepodge of successful mechanics from other games. Fortunately, the mixture works well, so though it won't be dethroning any titans of the genre, Homefront still earns a seat at the table. The campaign kicks off with a montage chronicling the next 15 years. As gas shortages lead to civil unrest, the United States weakens while across the Pacific, new leadership leads North Korea into an expansionist golden age. This multimedia setup paints a satisfyingly plausible picture, despite the eyesore button prompt, and collectible clippings throughout the campaign flesh things out even more. With every image of a breadline and article about the consolidation of America's armed forces, it gets easier and easier to suspend your disbelief. As Homefront's vision of the future becomes more believable, the events of the campaign hit closer to home. An introductory travel sequence in the spirit of Half-Life brings you up to speed very quickly with how bad things are.
Hey, this is bad. This is dumb.
Homefront's most intense moments aren't action movie sequences. They are emotionally wrenching, human encounters with the horrors of war.
Just don't think about it. Just
wait.
Close your eyes.
The setting is the standout in Homefront's campaign, and the characters play their parts well enough. In combat, however, they sometimes stick to the script too closely by advancing directly into enemy fire, but since they're invulnerable, this is more of a visual oddity than a gameplay issue. The action itself is solid, and though the game gives lip service to things like having to be frugal with ammunition or getting creative to avoid patrols, for the most part it plays like a standard linear shooter campaign. There are some cool action moments, like getting to command a giant feisty combat drone, and some nice combat venues. No, I'm not talking about the White Castle. Unfortunately, the whole thing wraps up around the 5-hour mark. Now that may not seem terribly short by modern shooter campaign standards, but what makes it worse is not that you're left wanting more, it's that you are left expecting more. So, it's off to online multiplayer to see if you can get your money's worth there. Though there are only a handful of team-based modes, there's still plenty of competitive fun to be had. Each kill not only nets you experience points that go towards leveling up, unlocking new weapons and perks, it also earns you battle points that only exist within the match. The idea is to spend these battle points to activate your equipped special weapons, in order to give you and your team an edge in combat. Some are familiar and functional, like bazookas and radar sweeps, while others are familiar and fun, like guided missile strikes. And then there are the drones. These handy fellows come in many shapes and sizes. There's the tiny airborne one that you use to spot enemies for your teammates. There's the dog-sized one with tank treads and a minigun. There's the little helicopter that launches missiles. And if all these tiny vehicles make you yearn for something you can actually ride in, then you can spend your battle points next time you spawn to show up in a Humvee, tank, helicopter, or other conveyance. The mix of drones, vehicles, and foot soldiers can make matches feel busy and exciting, and getting to redeem your rewards for good performance in the middle of the match is very satisfying. Furthermore, if you play the Battle Commander variants of the standard Team Deathmatch and Ground Control modes, your skills can earn you instant battlefield notoriety. Do well enough and you'll be automatically marked as a priority target for the enemy team. They can see what area you're in, but you get some automatic perks of your own for being singled out. Mechanics like this help keep Homefront's multiplayer from feeling too much like a haphazard blend of Call of Duty, Battlefield, and Counter-Strike. But you'll definitely get a strong sense of familiarity when playing online. Borrowing from the best isn't a bad way to go, though, and there's enough depth to Homefront's competitive side to fuel plenty of hours of combat. So, in the end, you get your money's worth. And even though the whole thing feels pretty familiar, Homefront has some remarkably memorable moments. The thoughtful campaign setting is a great example of how to draw a player into the game world. And though the story didn't do as much as it could have or should have, the emotional peaks are higher here than in most other shooters. The online arena offers plenty of excitement and rewards of its own, making Homefront a worthy stop on any shooter fan's tour of duty.